What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, as you can see, we got a lot of different types of tips in front of me. I'm going to be explaining to you what different types you're able to use with your pressure washer, whether it be because of gallons per minute, whether it be the type of job that you're doing, what surface you're cleaning, when is the right time to use a pressure tip versus, say, a JRod tip. The different types of surface cleaning tips, depending on what type of bar you have, what type of surface cleaner you have, pressure washer, all of that plays a factor. So be sure to stick around. We're going to get into all that in just a second. And if you stick around until the end, also we'll be sharing with you the new way that we have been running our JRod tips. You're definitely going to want to stick around for it because we actually shocked ourselves whenever we were doing this bank right here. And now this was a 4-story bank, and we were able to spray from the ground 4 stories up, and we were able to rinse the building off with a 10-gallon-a-minute pressure washer. So I don't believe we would have achieved that if we wouldn't have had this certain type of way to connect this tip to the end of our hose. So be sure to stick around to the end. I'm going to be sharing that with you. But before we go any further, if you're just starting out in this industry, or if you've even been in this industry for a while doing this, if you're struggling to find jobs right now, we are kind of in a slower season right now, beginning of August. Typically everybody's going back to school, going on vacations before school starts back up, different things like that. The parents and people aren't really worried about spending money on getting stuff cleaned all the time. So it tends to slow down around this time of the year, but we have a solution for you. Go check out the first link in the comment section in the description. Local Domination 2, everything that you need to do to grow and scale your business. Keep yourself busy through those slow months like right now. I know we had put out a video a few weeks ago or a few months ago on some of the chemicals that we had at the time. We got some brand new ones in. I'm not going to spoil it for y'all. I will be putting out a video on what we have. They're all great chemicals, our own branded stuff. So stick around, hit that like and subscribe button. That way you know exactly when that video comes out. And if you're in the area around Baton Rouge or Gonzales, Louisiana, stop in and check us out. We don't have anything selling online as of right now. We will, and we plan on having stuff in the future. We plan on building out a site and start selling products online eventually, but we're kind of slowly moving into things. So bear with us if there's something that we've shared with you that you want. We are able to ship it out a lot of the times depending on what it is. Just get with us and let us know. I'll leave our email also in the description below if you have any questions, or if you're having issues with anything and we can help you, we will most certainly do so. So let's jump right into exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Everything that you're going to use basically your pressure washer for, and what type of tip and what size tip you should be running for whatever surface you're cleaning and whatever application you're using your pressure washer for at the time, whether it be for high pressure, surface cleaning, downstreaming, whatever the case may be. We have all those tips, and not all of them. There is most certainly, more expensive tips and other similar stuff that is on the market. We don't have every single thing laid out right in front of me right here. This is just a few I grabbed off the shelf real quick, just to be able to show you the type of tip that you need for what exactly you're doing. I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. Obviously, everybody knows your normal yellow, green, white, red, and your black soap tip. Comes with pretty much every pressure washer that you'll ever buy. Even the 10-gallon-a-minute that we have on the trailer now, it came with all the same exact tips. And what that is different degree sizes for those tips. So you got your yellow, which is your 15, your green 25, and your white is a 40-degree tip. Your red is a 0-degree tip, which you shouldn't ever really need for anything, at least in our experience. And your black tip is a soap tip. So basically, one of these tips just may be with a little bit bigger orifice size. I'm not 100% sure. We don't stock those in the store just because we know that they'll sit there and collect dust for a while. Most of the time, people coming in, they need one of these 3 tips. They're the most common, and probably the tips that you'll use majority of the time in your business with your pressure washing wand. So moving on, we have JRod tips. There's all kind of different types of JRod tips, all kind of different sizes. These can be used on a 12-volt system or a gas system, 24-volt system, whatever the case may be, which is normally how they're used, most people pass up this option whenever it comes to actually using them with a pressure washer. This is a very awesome way to rinse. It's actually our recommended way for rinsing. If you're not downstreaming, if you are utilizing a soft wash technique, then you can put a JRod together, and if you're running a small enough washer and you're running a 12-volt pump, you can actually use the same JRod for both your pressure washer and your soft wash pump if you wanted to. That's an option. Or you can do like we like to do whenever we were running a 12-volt system and running these JRods on it for soft washing. We would take 2 pairs of channel locks, break this in half, and then we basically have a JRod for our pressure washer and a JRod for our 12-volt. The reason behind doing that is because we would never utilize all 4 positions on this JRod. We would only ever use 2. So we'd put a stream tip, you know, that's obviously a good size for whatever gallon a minute machine you're running, and also a fan tip. Now, the fan tip definitely comes in handy with the larger machines like your 8s and your 10s. Probably 8 gallon a minute or bigger is definitely worth having a fan tip, especially for rinsing like concrete, or those of you that are downstreaming. This is definitely a good option for that. If you're rinsing off concrete, we run a 10 gallon a minute with this fan tip right here, which is a 25-30. And what that is the 30 is the orifice size and the 25 is actually the degree of the fan. So this one right here, I believe is 25-20. So 25 degree, it's just a little bit smaller orifice than this one here. Hopefully the camera's picking that up because I can't see the front of it. But same thing with your stream tips. This stream tip here is a 0030. So all your 00 tips, if the 2 numbers that start, if the first 2 numbers is 00, then that is a stream tip. This is going to give you a straight stream to reach those higher places, especially if you're doing like a 2-story house or a 4-story bank. This is what we used for that. So depending on what size pressure washer you're running, that's going to determine which tip size would be the best. And you can kind of play around with these. I know on our 5 or 5.5 gallon a minute machine, we like to run the 0030 tip. On our 10 gallon a minute machine, we run a 0060 tip. So you can kind of see the difference in the orifice size on these 2 tips. With a 5.5 gallon a minute machine, this tip isn't going to do you really any good. You're going to reach maybe about 20 or 30 feet, and that's about it. You have to get it a tight enough pattern to where it sprays good for what gallon a minute your machine is able to push. Same thing with the fans. Find a tighter pattern if you have a smaller machine. If you have a bigger machine, 8 or bigger, I would recommend don't go any lower than probably a 40 or a 50. So a 0040 or a 0050. With the 10 gallon a minute, we find the 0040 puts out a little too much mist. Definitely don't want to run a 30. You can't necessarily mess up your pressure washer. If you go too small on these tips, you'll just get a lot of mist and you won't get a stream like you're able to achieve if you open that orifice up a little bit. So this is these are 10 gallon a minute pressure tips, and then this is a 0030 JRod tip. So as you can see, the 0030 JRod tip orifice is bigger than the orifice on the pressure tip for the pressure washer. So that's kind of the minimum orifice size that you want to be at for any type of tip that you're running on your pressure washer. Whatever the tip size is that comes with the pressure washer, you don't want to go any smaller than that because they're not going to give you the wrong tips with the pressure washer. They're going to give you the recommended tips for whatever pressure washer you're buying. Make sure you don't go any smaller than that because you could potentially, as I like to call it, drown out your pressure washer. Because if your pressure washer is pushing too much water for what this tip is allowing to flow out of it, then you will basically over pressurize your pump and you could start blowing unloaders or seals. Those of you that are running the smaller machines, especially if you're just starting out, nothing wrong with it. We ran a 3.5 gallon a minute whenever we started. It was a Simpson washer from Lowe's. We actually started off with a DeWalt washer from Home Depot. And in my opinion, our personal experience, I don't recommend the DeWalt pressure washers just because in our experience we had overheating issues with them, and they had an overheating sensor on that machine to where it would shut down once it reached a certain temperature. So during those hotter summer months, you know, we could run it for maybe an hour or two at a time, and then it would overheat. It does get hot down here in Louisiana, so you know it's 100 degrees or so outside, sun beaming down on the pressure washer the whole time that we're using it, and we maybe got an hour out of it. And then after about 2 weeks of dealing with that, we did go upgrade to the Simpson washer, and that one never overheated, never had any issues with it, and we ran that one for about our first year and a half, and absolutely zero issues. Definitely recommend that as a starter pressure washer if you are just getting into this and you're looking for a decent pressure washer at a decent price. So back to this. This is more of the size that you will be looking at if you do run like a 3.5 or a 4 gallon a minute machine. Whenever it comes to these types of tips, if you are coming in a place like this where they're just on the shelf, ours are labeled. We have, I know you can't see them on the camera, but we have 4 gallon, or 4 GPM, 5.5 GPM, 8 GPM, and 10 GPM. So they're actually labeled on the trays for you if you come in here. But if you're unsure and they're not labeled, if you ever go into a store, the side of the tip right here on the stainless part, it actually has numbers on it. Again, just like these tips, the first 2 numbers is your pattern, your degree. So this one is a 15150. So these have 5 numbers. The JRod tips have 4 numbers. So don't be confused by that. So 15-degree tip, and then the last 2 numbers is 40 on this pressure tip. That means it's 4 gallon a minute tip. Basically, what those last 2 numbers are going to do on this tip is it's just the recommended gallons per minute for this actual pressure tip. So this one is going to be a sorry, let's grab the same one here so the first 2 numbers are the same. So 15100. So they have 5 digits on these. Depending on the size of the machine, they have to add another digit, because if you're going to like a 10 gallon a minute or a 12 gallon a minute, you know, those gallon per minute machines with double digits, basically, the bigger machines, that's where that 5th digit comes into play. So on this tip, it's a 150. On this tip, it's a 151. And all that is if it says 0, just look at the next digit. That's per gallon. That's the gallon per minute that tip is recommended for. For this one, if it's a 151, 152, 152 would be kind of insane. But if it's like a 1512, that would be for like a 12 gallon a minute machine. Moving on, obviously we have a surface cleaning bar here. Before I get into these, this is a 20-inch bar that comes off of one of our Whirl-Away surface cleaners, our BE Whirl-Away surface cleaners. That is kind of the one, I guess, the go-to, I would say, at least in our area, for most people that are starting out or don't have the budget for the bigger whisper washes, or if they don't want to go with something or don't have the machine that can push, like the new Bandit surface cleaner like we run now with our 10 gallon a minute. By the way, highly recommend those. They are awesome. You know, those 20-inch surface cleaners that are more budget friendly, a lot of times they will come with a bar that is similar to this. So the tip sizes on your surface cleaner depend on a few different things. Number one, it depends on how many tips your bar accepts. So this one's obviously 2. So that's going to play a factor. Some of them have 3 tip slots, and some of them have even 4 tip slots. And if you're running those bigger, you know, 60 inches, or like if you see some of these guys rolling around on those, on the Cub Cadets where they got the belly as a surface cleaner and they're pushing, you know, 35, 36 gallons a minute, whatever the case may be, or more, then they're most likely running either 2 3-tip bars or 2 4-tip bars under there. So you got to do the math on that and break it all the way down. So this chart right here, this is just the chart that we keep hanging in the store. You know, just anybody coming in or whatever, if they want to look at it, or we can always refer to this to make sure that they get the correct tip size. We tend to keep the most common tip sizes in stock. So like your 25/25s, 30s, 40s. We even have 35s all the way up to 25/60s, which is what we run on our 10 gallon a minute. So this chart is based off of a 2,500 PSI goal. So these tip sizes for whatever gallon per minute that they're next to will give you around 2,500 PSI, or it should give you around 2,500 PSI. So that's what we go off of We've never had any issues, and every time we go with one of these tip sizes, whether it be in this type of bar or one of the bigger, thicker bars like that come on the Bandits, we've never had any issues running off of 2,500 psi gold for those tip sizes. So the surface cleaning tips, this is something that we have definitely made the mistake of in the past, and that is just grabbing a surface cleaner and taking off with it, not worried about if the tips are in line. You can see there, this tip here, the line on the top of the tip that you're seeing now that runs through the actual hole on the top of the tip is in line with the bar. You always want to make sure that you have those tips in line. I can't tell you how many people come in here and they say, man, I don't know what's going on. My surface cleaner bar, it's not spinning, it's sticking in one spot, or it's not spinning like it should, or whatever the weird stuff this is doing. 90% of the time, it's either one of these tips is out of line, or both of them, or one or both of these has trash in it and it's actually clogged. So all you gotta do is just grab a pair of channel locks, whatever you want to take this off with. You can hold these tips up to the light. If you can see daylight through it clearly, then that means your tip's good. If you can't see daylight, that means something's in it. If you're having one of those issues, then definitely make sure that either your tips are in line or make sure that they don't have trash in them. Also, those BE whirlaways are known for the swivel on the top of the cover. They're known for those heads that sit inside of there going out. So you'll know if that happens because your surface cleaner will start shaking real bad, or if you can grab your bar and you can wiggle it and it's got a lot of slack and play in it, then that most likely means your swivel is bad. So a lot of different ways to diagnose surface cleaners acting up. We weren't aware that the tip sizes had made that big of a difference or that big of an impact on the performance of the actual surface cleaner whenever it's hooked up to your machine. Whenever we were first starting out, we just, nice, shiny, yellow, brand new surface cleaner, ready to try it out. The last thing we were worried about was checking the tips. Now, that's the first thing we do on any surface cleaner, whether it's ours or a customer comes in here. We check the tip sizes and we check all those other things, make sure they're in line, check the swivel, different things like that. The same thing I'm about to talk about can also happen if you're running too small of a pressure tip on the end of your wand or on the end of a minigun or whatever the case may be. If you're running too small of an orifice size for what your pressure washer is pushing, what gallon per minute your pressure washer is pushing out of it, then you could, like I said, overpressurize the pump and start blowing seals up or messing up unloaders and different things like that. So at the end of the day, the only thing that you need to worry about is, are you running a big enough tip size for either your pressure tip that goes on the end of your wand, your surface cleaning tips, and that's pretty much about the only tip sizes that would be, that you would have to worry about. Unless you're running one of them bigger machines and you got like a 0020 stream tip for a JRod, you can see that this is obviously a much smaller orifice size than this. This is for a 10, and this is what we used to run on like our 12 volts and stuff like that. We did find out that the 30s and even 40s run better on the 12 volt 7 gallon a minute pump. So if you are running a 7 gallon a minute pump and you're looking for a recommended tip to run with it or a recommended gun, we ran the ST510s, which is the little plastic gun with a 1/2 to 1/4 inch bushing on the end of it. Put a 1/4 inch MPT quick connect socket, screw it into the bushing, and then you're able to have these tips on a JRod and quick connect your JRod into the end of your gun. Now, we would run a stream tip and a fan tip, so whichever one you need. If you need to reach higher, obviously use your stream tip. If you need to coat the side of a house and you're trying to save on bleach, obviously switch to your fan tip. This right here, running it with a 10 gallon a minute, it's still got a little bit. I mean, it wouldn't be an issue running this on a 10 gallon a minute, but if you ran this on a 10 gallon a minute machine, then, I don't even know what you would really use that for, other than if you get mad at somebody or something like that, you could throw that on there and I guess shoot them with it, and it would probably hurt pretty bad, just because it would put out a straight stream at whatever you're trying to hit. For the most part, it would put out a straight stream. It's going to be a lot of mist, but it is a stream tip, so I really don't know exactly how far you would actually be able to reach with that. Like I said, if you're running a 10-gallon a minute machine and you run one of these 60s, then we were shooting, you know, over 4 stories with it from the ground. So tip sizes matter whenever it comes to what gallon per minute machine you're running. PSI, not an issue. You can actually achieve a different PSI coming out of the end of your pressure washer depending on what size tip you're running. So if I'm running this out of a 4-gallon a minute machine, then it's most likely going to be pushing around 4,000 PSI or 3,500 PSI, whatever the box says basically on it, and whatever tips it comes with, that's most likely around the PSI that it's going to be pushing. If I put this on there, or if I put an 8-gallon a minute tip on there, then it should cut that PSI in half because you're doubling the size of this orifice. So 4-gallon a minute machine that is running 4,000 PSI with the tips that they gave you in the box. If you put an 8-gallon a minute machine tip on the end of your wand and then pull the trigger, you're not going to put out as much pressure. You're going to put out more volume. So you're going to max out the gallon per minute that the machine is able to put out because there's no restriction on the flow, but you're also going to get a lot less PSI. So PSI isn't what you necessarily need to worry about at the end of the day. Gallons per minute is definitely the culprit whenever it comes to either pushing more or less, or, you know, more volume, or achieving a different PSI coming out of your washer. Personally ran these once, and I prefer the JRod tip if you have the right orifice size, because I find that this is a little restrictive compared to this, depending on how you're running this. If you're running this through a gun, then obviously you're going to restrict the flow a little bit more than if you were to just have quick connect to bushing, back to quick connect, to where you were able to quick connect this into the end of your ball valve. So what I mean by that, so say you have your ball valve and your ball valve is set up with a plug on your rinse side, if you're rinsing concrete, then you have something like this set up, which all this is just a 3/8 FPT socket with a 3/8 to 1/4 inch stainless bushing. So you got 3/8 male threads on the outside, 1/4 inch female threads on the inside, and then it's reduced, so it reduces from 3/8 to this MPT socket, which is a 1/4 inch. This is going to screw to the female side of your bushing. Then you're going to have your 3/8 socket. It's going to screw onto the male side of your bushing. And you're going to make back-to-back quick connect, reduce quick connects, just like that. And then you're able to quick connect this JRod into this 1/4 inch socket. And then this end will obviously be on the tip on your ball valve. And we run that just like that. That way we don't have to worry about holding the trigger down. You're getting more flow out of this because it's going through less parts and pieces. And this is how we were able to reach 4 stories up with the 10-gallon a minute machine. Like I said, the only difference between ours and this is that we only have 2 slots, because we do take channel locks and break these in half to where we can either have an extra one or we have one for a different machine if we need it. So this is definitely a very effective way to get a good stream out of your pressure washer. If this is something that you're interested in running, we do sell these in the store. If you're in the area, come stop by. Again, I will leave our location in the description below. Along with that, I will leave the blueprint to 100K. Go check that out. First link in the comment section in the description. And until next time, my name is Jacob, and as always, y'all stay happy, humble, and money hungry.